People who refuse to take coding tests. A couple of years ago I ran into a couple of applicants who refused to take any kind of coding tests whatsoever. Genuinely interested if this works for anyone, how long it takes you to find a job, what is your thinking? Edit: I'm an engineer too. I understand these nuances. I'll do this kind of test, but not that one. Time wasted, etc. etc. I mean a flat-out refusal to do any kind of coding test as a condition before taking to anyone. Edit: to this post makes me realize there is absolutely no consensus among engineers on coding evaluation preference. The vast majority of recruiters downplay coding tests as something that anybody with the relevant XP should not find difficult. Then the test includes LeetCode style problems in a time-constrained environment, which is nothing like the work XP required for the job. Can't blame folks for thinking your test is just like the others. You don't know what you're going to get with these tests. When you say tests, people think about LeetCode or comp sci theory they learned 10 years ago in college. It has no relevance to the average developer's job, so they're likely to fail without studying. If you already have a job and are just shopping around, it's easy to decide that the investment isn't worth the time. New grads put up with it only because they don't have a choice. I refuse to do take-home tests. If you want me to stand on my head and do graph traversals, fine. But I'm not wasting my time if you aren't wasting an engineer's time to watch me. For the latter, I know I'm a serious enough candidate. For take-home tests, I could be one of 1,000 people they spammed. Edit: someone asked about OAs. Yes, I'd do an hour time-boxed OA, I suppose, for a really good company. I don't mind coding tests if they're quick. If you expect me to sit through 7 interview stages, get for aid. I have 2 rules in job searching. 1. If it's a take-home programming test, I will ask for compensation. 2. If the company requires more than 3 interviews to get hired, I'll walk. Take-homes are BS. I've been out of college for 26 years. Been working all that time. I don't have time in my life to go back and answer some logic puzzles that some junior person created because they think it's funny to watch people stumble. Ask me what I've done over the last 10 years and I'll explain it all. Reach out to my references, that'll verify my work quality. That should be all you need. If that's not enough, then you aren't really serious about finding good people. TBH, it just depends on how much I want the job. I once had 3 rounds of coding tests. And then they wanted me to do 4 more rounds of super day interview coding tests. Fuck no. If you want me to continue, you have my email. I'll do a take-home a company that'll increase my TC or TC potential. I'm not doing a take-home at a company that's not worth my time though. I feel like that's what most people would lean towards. If the FAANGs started doing take-homes, would people refuse to do their take-homes? I don't really think so. I only take online coding tests like HackerRank at my leisure and use Google. So, ChatGPT. Or whatever it takes to pass. In other words, just like I would during my workday. And fuck any interview that wants me to open an IDE and code shit on demand so some sadists can watch. Those places suck anyway. I'd rather do a coding test than a PR. Stupid aptitude certification exam. Homework to build an app. Etc. Give me a LeetCode sys design, please. At the very least, I'll get to interact with whoever that is that I may be working be, and if they're a dick bag, then fuck that team and I'll let the recruiter hour know. The only time I'll do a take-home assignment anymore after being burned tons of times by cancelled positions or hiring freezes is if it has realistic time expectations sub X hours and I really enjoy the idea of the project. It's so one-sided when I want to be at least able to talk to the engineers I'd be hypothetically working with. After a bad experience, I now demand upfront payment for these. They refuse, and I move on. I'm in my 50s and been in the business for 30 years. My experience and references should speak for themselves. I actually did attempt a couple of tests that were for coding boot camps that were to evaluate if coding was the correct field for me. Failed miserably. I actually love take-homes that are time-boxed. That's how I got my internship as well as first, second and third jobs. Each one paid pretty well minus the second one. I think it went $140K, $130K, $175K. Pick and choose. Either spend 3 months grinding every LeetCode question possible or just do a 2 5-hour take-home. Combined with a phone screen and maybe 1-2 more real-life questions and behaviorals. People on here complain so much about getting paid 6 figures. I think you need to just relax a bit. It's effectively a culture mismatch if you want to ask coding questions during an interview but a candidate doesn't want to interview that way. It's okay. No one is right. No one is wrong. I'm a contractor. But if I apply for a new project and they want to give me a take-home test, I always start with stating my hourly rate. I don't want to stress out doing pointless tests that are not representative of the actual work I'm to perform on the job. I can find employment without jumping through such hoops. So why would I? If they aren't paying FAANG level comp, then why would you subject yourself to FAANG level interviews? It's a joke that places like Home Depot are doing LeetCode interviews but only pay $150K. If people are refusing the algorithm-style coding interview, that might be because even the most simple algorithmic questions are often too difficult for those who haven't practiced. So it makes sense to decline if you haven't practiced, as you will most certainly fail. Interestingly, LeetCode-style interviews are not even given in most parts of the world USA. That automatically fails them at many companies. It will make their job search take a longer time. Some people don't care. But I consider this to be a large waste of time due to the rejection percentage it will cause. Some people will say it didn't take much time. Check their sample size. In the long run, most companies require at least one test of coding ability and it will cause a large percent of rejections. My coding test is my many years of experience. I never did take-home tests or online assessment tests in 20 years. I've changed jobs 3 times in the last 10 years. Almost no company asks me. Of the big 5, only AZ does take-home tests. I never had any interest in AZ, so I dropped out immediately when they approached me about it and told them never to contact me again, and they haven't. I've interviewed with the other 4 at various times, but they didn't ask for any tests. No startup has ever asked me. Of the recent startups that I worked for, they didn't have take-home tests or online assessments for anybody. Did you tell them to invoice it and the amount? Shouldn't have a problem if paid appropriately. Otherwise, they'll only do them if they happen to find it worth it in their circumstance. I find them stupid. Pressure is too high, you cannot value people with them. But I want to simulate stressful situations, that's not the way. Not the context. I've done this my whole career after my junior dev role. Plenty of jobs operate this way.